Let's continue talking about Orange County. We've got a guest joining us back on the show. We've had him on a few times, and it's always fun to learn about some of the off the field stuff from an expert or for someone that does this for a living and runs the club. That's Pete Nugent, who is your general manager, president of soccer operations for Orange County Soccer Club. Pete, welcome back on the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
We are excited to have Pete or have you on the show, Pete. Let me ask you this. As the person that sort of builds this team and that has looked at these players, have scouted players, maybe we don't get to see as much of them on the pitch because they're not higher on the pecking order. What is a match like this past weekend where you get to see some of those younger players or some of those players like Tet that hasn't gotten on the pitch much for the team? What is it like for you to sort of see that on the pitch and see what the possibilities are for Orange County?
Yeah, I think we're fortunate that the fact that we get to see them day in day out at training. So it doesn't come as a huge surprise to us when we put them into the team and they do well, and we fortunately get a result because we see what they produce day in day out. And so I think for us, we get to see it on a regular basis. Obviously, you never quite know how it goes when we insert them into a full game. But I think ultimately it was a really proud evening for everybody involved. We had the youngest lineup we'd ever put out in club history. So it was a proud moment to give some of those young players opportunities in the team. But they've fully earned those opportunities. We've been doing really well in the Academy League. We're top of the Academy League at the moment. So it was great to see them finally make some of their full debuts. And I thought they handled themselves really well. And obviously, Tech coming in and getting a clean sheet. He's been working hard day in, day out. He's capped it off with a great save at the end to keep it 0-0. And then for Pedro to go on and win the game in front of the home fans, it was a fantastic moment. I think those are the kind of nights that keep everyone coming back. So it was exciting to see some of those young guys make their debuts and ultimately get 3 points in the Jägermeister Cup. It was a great night overall, yeah.
And we were talking earlier about the youth, but we also mentioned that it wasn't a full rotation. There were still some of the key players for this team, like Tom Brewitt, Nico Benal, Kazar, Vuk was back there. So you had some leadership, some veteran presence out there. What did you see from those players to help the youth players succeed or at least be able to get the victory in this match and help the team get the result?
Yeah, I think, if you go back to kind of how we've built this organization and this club structure, we pride ourselves on youth development. We make no secrets about that. We're a development club. We want to give young players opportunities, but in order for those young players to succeed, they need to have senior leadership around them in order for them to learn and grow on the field. And when we go into recruiting, these senior players, we call them veteran players, your Tom Brewitts, your Kyle Scotts, Kevin Petitas, that's something that we're open with them when we're engaging in the recruitment process about that we want to give young players opportunities and something that they need to be a part of and understand that we're going to give them a chance. And to be fair, all those senior players really embrace that challenge of helping be a leader for the young players and helping them coach on the field. So, when we spoke to the guys early in the week that, we were going to put out a few younger players and give them their debuts and give them a chance, the reaction from the senior players was absolutely fantastic. They were fully supportive of giving those players that chance in front of the home crowd. And they were helping them all week through training and helping them be prepared as best as possible for this Saturday. And then during the game, you can hear Tom, he's helping out Nicola at right back. It's great to see. So the senior players really have a really important role in the development of the young guys. And I thought every man, in the 11 did a fantastic job. Senior players, young players, all came together, and it was great to see it kind of all come together at the end and nick a win.
And it was a really nice win, Pete. We all really enjoyed it. I've got 3 questions, one of which you absolutely do not have to answer, and I'll ask that one somewhere in between the other 2. Question 1: we've struggled a little bit this year. We know that. These last 2 wins, these last 2 clean sheet wins, have been against 2 very good teams, El Paso and Sacramento. Do you feel like maybe the team has reached a turning point on this season?
Yeah, look, I think, overall, I think we've actually performed reasonably well throughout the season. I think in certain games, I feel we've maybe not got the results that we maybe deserved. You look at games at like North Carolina, Vegas away, even New Mexico in the first half. I think there's been games where we've needed to take our opportunities and we failed to do so, and we fell short. So I felt like we've always been pretty close to put some results together. So I didn't feel we were a million miles off, and I think we've seen that in the last couple of games. If we tighten up at the back a little bit, which we've been working hard on, that really the margins were quite thin, and I think we've seen that in the last couple of games that there really isn't much between the teams, and it's really about taking your chances and ultimately giving up as few opportunities as possible. And I think we've managed to do that in the last few games, and I'm hopeful that we can continue that moving throughout the season, because I think we feel very confident with the players that we have and the coaching staff that we have. So, I wouldn't say it's a turning point, because I feel like we were on the right path, and we maybe just needed a few things to fall our way, and hopefully that continues. We've got a good schedule now to pick up some points, and that's what we'll be looking to do this weekend in Loudon.
Great. Question number 2. When San Diego buys Milan Olaski officially, how much money we getting? We getting a little cash there? No, that's the one you don't have to answer. We can ignore that one.
I mean, like I say, we're great. We're happy to see Milan doing as well as he is at San Diego. It doesn't surprise us that he's taken to MLS, like he did at USL level. We know his quality. It's great to see, and it's something that we fully expected to happen. So we'll see how that goes out. Maybe he's onto a big club in Europe. We'll see.
That wouldn't be a bad thing either. There has been all of the talk, and there's been the vote and promotion relegation. It looks like it's coming, and it looks like it's official. Give us your thoughts on that. How do you think that's going to affect Orange County Soccer Club as a whole, American soccer as a whole?
Yeah, I think you guys know I'm from the UK. It's promotion relegation is something that I've been born into, so it's something that I'm a big advocate of. For us, it definitely creates that sense of competition, and it means that there's no gimme games throughout the year. Every team's got something to play for, and for me, that will only improve the quality of play throughout the league. So it's something that I'm personally very excited about. There's lots of things that need to fall into place for it to ultimately all come together. But obviously, it's a long-term project. But it's something that I'm personally excited about. I think it's great for the club, it's great for the league, and it's great for the US soccer environment as a whole. And I think as a club, it's something that we fully embrace and look forward to taking part in all the conversations that go with it. And I think ultimately it'll be for the betterment of the club and the league. And ultimately, we're about giving young players chances and opportunities and moving them on to Europe. And for us, we want to prepare them the best we can to send them on their way to Europe. And there's no better preparations to feel the stress and drama of promotion relegation in your home country before they go over to Europe. So I think it will help the youth development on our side, and something that we're looking forward to, and hopefully it pushes the game forward in the US.
And given that my team just got promoted up to the Prem, I can't wait for this to happen in the US. And I think Dylan's got a couple questions for you. So Dylan, I'll give it over to you.
You just couldn't help yourself, Larry.
Hey.
Nobody cares about a club from the Northeast, my friend.
Well, Dylan,
Sunderland and baseball, baby. Let's go.
I'm just disappointed there's not going to be any more fun documentaries to watch on Netflix, and have the popcorn ready,
God, those hurt so much.
Dylan, really quick before you ask the question, just remind Larry the last time one of our teams got promoted to the Premier League, how that went.
It was excellent. Pete, I look forward to when we have some weird EDM version of, any song that we're familiar with playing in the stadium. Whatever EDM version of County Roads starts going. I look forward to watching that happen.
I've been a big advocate of getting some more EDM in the stadium to increase the tempo before the match. So I'm all for that.
It's been, I think, just over 10 years now since you arrived with Orange County. I think to the month even. The league's obviously changed quite a bit. The club has changed both in name and primary color. Can you just speak for a minute on the changes that you've seen, and how you've changed in your responsibilities with the club in that time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's just come up to 10 years at the club. It seems to have flown by, and fortunately in that time I've become married and become a father. Met my wife at the club, so a lot to be thankful for Orange County. It's changed my life in many ways, not just on the field, but off the field. It's been a huge part of my personal life and led me to my wife. So a lot of things to be thankful for on that side. But it's been an incredible journey, really. If we go back to OC Blues, playing at UCI on the concrete bleachers, obviously great to see that there's still some familiar faces who were there at the beginning, and they're still there in the county line singing the songs, which is great to see. But the transformation from where we were and the kind of crowds that we have has been incredible, and something that's been incredibly rewarding to be a part of, playing such an integral role of creating that pipeline for young players. If you'd asked me 10 years ago that we'd be selling players to Feyenoord and Stade de Reims, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So, to be able to move players to elite clubs in Europe in such a short space of time has been incredible. That's been a great thing for us to be able to continue that development and play a key role of getting young players into the youth national team. It's been something that's been really exciting for us to be a part of. And then, if I look at off the field, the one thing that I see, which is, really, really exciting to see, is the amount of fans and merchandise that people are representing, and taking pride of the club and the badge. Now if you take a walk around on Saturday night, majority of the fans in attendance are decked out in OCSC branded gear, which is just a sign of how far we've come. That people are proud and excited to represent the badge and the club, and for me, that's something that I take a lot of pride in. And then ultimately, seeing young players on the field like we did on Saturday, OC natives as well, kids who've grown up in the area, are now representing their hometown club. I just think it's a sign of the growth that we've made as a club, and we know we've got plenty more work to do, and that's what keeps me driving forward and motivated to keep making strides to this great club. And but it's been incredibly rewarding and a really interesting role, and that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and look forward to the future ahead.
You led me in almost perfectly. Well, I see producer Andy, so go ahead, producer Andy.
Yeah, sorry to bust in there, but Pete, you mentioned the people wearing merch. I just want to say real briefly, I got one of those new golf shirts for Father's Day that the team wore for the golf fundraiser or foundation thing, whatever it was. I'm not going to pretend I know what it is because I don't play golf. But I get a lot of compliments on it at work and just walking around. And at the game, I wore it on Saturday, and everyone thought it looked great. So I know that's not really your side of the team, business ops, really. But the more like casual wear I can wear to work, I just need a few more shirts, and I can wear an OC shirt every day to work. And that would be great.
Yeah, no, there you go. I won't give Dan too much credit, but Dan and Megan have done a fantastic job on the merchandise, and it's great to see people representing the club in and around the community. Just shows how far we've come. So great to hear you getting some compliments at work.
Pete, back to your side maybe of the club. A question from DK: who are some young players that you see with the potential to become first team starters in the near future?
Yeah, no, great question. I think that's the exciting part of what we're trying to do is to try and blend that kind of senior team and young prospects and young players. And I think you saw a glimpse of that on Saturday night. Obviously Pedro Guramaish has been doing a fantastic job and has obviously been playing away with the youth national team. And I think he's a player with a big future ahead of him. And we look forward to seeing his debut, his future in the club. So he's continuing to improve. And then, we have some other players that maybe you guys aren't as familiar with who debuted at the weekend. Nicolas Ciotta at right back. I thought he did a fantastic job, but he's been doing a really, really good job in the academy this year. So he's one that we're excited about. And then one that's been added to the group recently is Jake Kone, who's another young, exciting forward that we've added to the group. Ben Bargiolo. So we've got some good young attacking players, and obviously Gavin Karam got his kind of first full taste of minutes at the weekend. So those are some of the players that maybe you guys have not seen as much of yet, but again, we see them on a daily basis that we're really excited about, and we're always looking to bring in new young talent, and I'm sure there'll be some more faces in the coming months of young players that we're trying to add to the group. But we'll see where that goes. But we're excited for the young players and feel we've got a really good young pipeline of players coming through the system at the moment.
All right, Pete, one final one for you. Or it's really two questions. What do you see as this current squad's biggest strength? What's the biggest weakness? And what do they need to do to keep the momentum going so we can have a second photo behind you?
Yeah, well, it's I think the one thing you always need to win a title is a little bit of luck, and I think that sometimes people forget that part. You look at our run through the playoffs. There was a little bit of luck here and there along the way, and I think you look at Phoenix Rising when they won the title. You need a little bit of luck in the PK shootout. So hopefully a little bit of luck falls our way. But I think we've got the team and the qualities to put a run together and put ourselves in the question. And I think once you enter into the playoffs, really it's anyone's game, and a lot of the time it's whoever's in form is the team that people don't want to face. And I think we saw that last year. I think we were very close to going all the way, maybe a couple of minutes away from pushing the team to penalties against Colorado. And once we got through Colorado, we knew it was going to be a tough game, and ultimately felt very confident we could beat anyone in it last year. So we're looking to build on that momentum and try and put that run together towards the back end of this season now. The one thing we usually do is time it well for the back end of the year, so that's where it counts, and ultimately we're looking to continue that. But I think we've got a lot of strengths through the team. I think if you look at the group, we've got good depth that maybe we've not had in previous years. So I think we've got good depth in this group, and there's a lot of competition for places, and players like Stephen Kelly, who's just joined the club, or complementing an already pretty strong midfield. So I think we've got some really good, strong players in the group, and they're going to push each other. And I think weaknesses. I don't think there's any overbearing weaknesses that we have in the group. We need to tighten up on taking chances and obviously keeping clean sheets, and that's what we want to try and do. And the old saying is defense win titles is something that we've kind of carried at OC throughout the years. So we'll be looking to definitely increase our number of clean sheets. I know it's the back four have been really striving to put that on the board, and we're delighted to get their first clean sheet the other week in El Paso, and then backed it up with another one. So that's something that we're going to look to continue to build, and just ultimately being hard to beat, and being competitive, because we know in this league, anyone can beat anyone, and we back ourselves on any given day.
Ray, over to you, my friend.
Yeah, Pete, I typically jump on here and ask like some weird random questions, and that's why I think Dylan was talking with that tone of voice. But with your discussion that you were having with Dylan, it actually opened up my mind. I wanted to ask you this question. Obviously, we probably could do a full hour-long show with this question I'm going to ask you, and I don't want you to divulge any secrets, but you mentioned bringing on someone like Stephen Kelly. You mentioned selling players out to Europe. Can you just give us a high-level overview of what that is like how that whole process works, what your role is in all of that, and how do you get the best deal for Orange County, either the most money on a sale or the lowest price on an incoming potential option?
Yep, no, it's definitely a question I could probably go on for a couple of hours and give you the full breakdown. But it's a unique job, and it's a unique challenge. And I think when we're looking at incoming players, there's a lot of different things that we look at in terms of recruiting players. Obviously, that always starts with looking at game footage. We have a software called Y Scout, which is a fantastic software which allows us to basically watch any player in the world at any given day, and literally you can look at any player's clips at a click of a button. So it's completely revolutionized the way we scout. When I first started, back in England and working at Blackburn, we used to have the DVDs being sent in, and we'd have to load up the DVD player and start watching a player's clips. So it's completely changed the way we recruit and scout, and obviously brought the world together and made it a much smaller place, and opened up a lot more markets. So a lot of that, we work with a number of different agents that present players on a daily basis, and from there we're always creating databases and tracking players, and whether that's domestic players that we're more familiar of and we see on a day in day out basis, or international players like Stephen Kelly. We'll go and review the footage, and then from there, there's a lot of work in terms of once we've decided we like what we see on the footage. It's about connecting with a lot of different people that we know in the area who may get a character reference from, a coaching reference from. So there's a lot of groundwork that goes into each player that we're making sure that there's due diligence is going in, and it's a very thorough process to make sure that we're minimizing our risk the best we can, that we know the product that we're bringing in. And there's no guarantees with scouting and signing players, but you try to minimize the risk that the player won't work out for whatever reason, and hope that they'll fit into our system and our structure and thrive from there. And that's kind of the top level view of how we recruit players. And then in terms of outgoing players, when we're looking to try and transfer players to Europe, it's a very complex process, and there's a lot of different elements that go into making a deal work. You have a OC, the selling team, you have the player's agent, you have the player himself, you have the player's representatives, and you have the buying team. So you have basically 5 individual parties that all need to become in agreement to make a transfer happen, and that can be a process that takes a long time. And it's about trying to find a common ground on all those parties to try and align to make sense for OC and ultimately the player and ultimately the buying club. So with that, then you're trying to find that happy balance to make a deal, and then ultimately it's about finding the best value for OC and the right decision for the club, and that's a process that we've fine-tuned over the past few years. But you understand the market and kind of where a player's value is at, and you strive to obviously bring in the most you can for the club, and ultimately hope the transfer goes through. But it's not always a straightforward process, and there's plenty of things that go into it. But fortunately, we've managed to conclude a number of different transfers to Europe, and hopefully we'll continue to keep doing that.
Pete, it's funny that you talk about this because I'm about to help you out with some scouting for next year. There's a player out there, young man is named Grayson Duty, and I think he would be a great fit at probably, I don't know, like right back next year for the team. So if you can maybe watch some tape on him and put him in a number 2 jersey and playing in the number 2, I think there'd be a lot of people, me in particular, who would be very happy about that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make that happen. I've got a good feeling we can probably get that done.
That would be great. Well, see, you might want to consider hiring me as a scout now, because obviously I'm on top of stuff.
Absolutely, we need all the help we can get. So we'll take it, Larry.
Beautiful.
I will give you the reference right now for Larry P, and that would be a hard no. Just to let you know, just don't hire him in that role. P, any message for the fans as we're heading close to here? I don't know if we're officially at that second half of the part of the season now, but we're right about that point. What message do you have the fans that are watching this team, supporting this team, or maybe on the fence of becoming full-fledged supporters of Orange County?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that's been tremendous to see is the growth of the county line behind the goal through my years. I mean, it's been growing steadily, and you see that on Saturday night. Those are the special moments, that I don't think there's anything you can replicate in a last minute winner in front of your home fans. That feeling, that emotion. So anybody who's on the fence, I think take a look at those clips, and I think you'll definitely be a fan moving forward. But just continue supporting the club as you always do. I think it's this is a very unique club, and I think the fans understand that we're a development club. You're trying to find that balance between winning, incorporating young players, and ultimately fighting for championships. And I think the fans always understand that's what we're trying to do as a club, and continue to believe in us. And I think even if when we're having tough moments, continue that belief. And I think last season is a perfect example to highlight keeping the faith. There was maybe periods in last season where people were unsure that we were going to continue in the right direction and maybe tail off towards the end. But we continued that belief and knew that we had a good group together, that we could put a run together. And I think last season the fans stuck with us, and we went on to have a tremendous end to the season. And we're looking to hopefully go one better this year. And always going to be bumps in the road, but we always will push as hard as we can to ultimately try and bring home another title. That's my objective here at the club, and want to do that with the fans. So continue supporting us like you always do, and we'll always fight as hard as we can on and off the pitch for you.
We appreciate that, Pete. Once again, everyone, the general manager, president of soccer operations for your Orange County Soccer Club, Pete Nugent. Pete, as always, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you at the games.